YouTube, what the Total War Rome 2 crap is going on? Heir of Carthage here, back on Total War Rome 2 with some more online action. Today it's going to be myself playing as Pontus versus the Getae. The Getae player is going to have numbers on me here pretty big because he has gone cavalry light and I have gone relatively cav heavy, plus I have a unit of chariots. I did not mean to put the chariots as my general. I actually meant to put my general in as a Pontic swordsman. And anyway, I'm going to keep the chariots hidden back here for late game. I've got 6 Pontic swords, a few Eastern spear, or 4 Eastern slingers. I've got 4 noble blood cav and 4 mercenary Scythian horse archers. I know that the Dacian player is going to have access to bow horsemen. He's got 3 Dacian heavy bowmen, 4 noble swords. Looks like he's got 4 or 5 spear warriors around, 2 spear cav, and 2 bow horsemen. As soon as the battle starts, my opponent takes his superior numbers. He started on top of the hill and he goes straight into the forest, and he does not mean to leave it. Though he is chasing my horse archers, I'm going to be in fast forward because it is a long battle and there's no sense in watching all of this in just regular speed. You can see that he is just bound and determined to get my mercenary Scythians. But this actually ends up being an okay, like that one unit I lost, but this has lured out all of his cavalry and I'm ruining his spear horsemen, which I'm going to have to do in order to have my chariots be able to have free reign over the battlefield. Plus, if I get rid of his bow horsemen and just a couple other units, it's going to just make this battle go better for me. So overall, lost 1 horse archer, but this is going to be a good engagement for me. I've got my noble blood lined up over here, ready to pounce on him. This means that he's been pursuing me in vain, but yeah, my opponent has pursued me almost like the AI after spears here when it comes to my horse archers. Not the best way to handle horse archers, but for me it's a good thing. So I'd say these opening engagements are going to yield quite a few more kills for me than they will him. However, my opponent has a lot more men to lose than I do. So if I'm going to keep up playing this way, I need to be terribly efficient with the way that I kill his troops. The problem is that with the forest and the uphill, it's going to make my chariots much harder to use than if we were on a flat map. So I'm going to have to be careful here. His spear horsemen are going to get absolutely ransacked by noble blood cav way before his heavy spears can ever get there. So yeah, I'm going to pull away from that, and then I've got a Pontic swordsman coming out here to handle his heavy spear because he's now overextended himself and it won't be able to escape. He brings out his Dacian heavy bowman. Took a couple of shots at my noble blood cav while I was busy. I'm going to start returning fire with the slingers. I didn't know what to expect exchanging Eastern slingers with the heavy bowman, and I should have been more careful than this because I'm losing Eastern slingers a lot faster than I should. But I've destroyed 2 spear horsemen and a heavy spear and 2 bow horsemen. So all in all, so far, quite a few units that I've taken off the field. So probably about 5 of his units, but he has a full stack. And the biggest problem is the noble swords. I can deal with this whole army except for the noble swords unless I have the right tools. I either have to have cavalry for rear charges, skirmishers to pick them apart, or chariots to be able to beat them. I do have 1 Pontic Peltis that I failed to mention earlier. I was hoping maybe to do some general sniping or something with this unit. Pontic Peltis don't have a ton of ammo, but they have nice 41 damage javelins, and we'll just kind of see how that goes. Trying to get some angles for skirmishing with his Dacian heavy bowmen. I've got them mostly mopped up, though I've taken quite a few losses on my slingers, and then that's when I see he's also got 2 Dacian skirmishers. Those are actually a huge threat to my chariots too. My opponent switched to flaming ammo. I have no idea why. My slingers weren't about to rout, so I'm not sure why he switched to the flaming arrows. So yeah, we're going to just sit here and toy around with each other a little more. I'm going to do some scouting, split up my troops. That way I've got the ability to come at my opponent from 2 sides. The problem is, though, is like my infantry is very weak. His is going to be very good. My opponent at this point has enough numbers that he honestly doesn't even have to play all that well. As long as he keeps enough precursors and stuff to destroy my chariots, then he'll be in good shape. This was a quick run that I did on his Dacian skirmishers, trying to get them off the field because they are a threat to my chariots. I'm trying to get rid of any units he has that could be a threat to my chariots, but again, the terrain is going to be the biggest threat to my chariots, I think, because it slows them down. So I'm putting quite a few little hit-and-run missions on my my opponent here. But like I said, the numbers go in his favor, and he can afford to play you know, all in with his units and sacrifice them, whereas I only had like 1,600 men coming into this and he had like 2,000, so he has 400 more men than me. So my guys have to be very proficient with their kills, and honestly I'm probably being a little bit too sloppy here, but I'm just feeling pretty confident that if I can get some of these units off the field, my chariots will mop up the rest of his army with relative ease. They should be able to, at least. So that's kind of why I'm just being like kind of all in over here, trying to get a hold of his Dacian Heavy Bowman here. I don't know if he thinks it's Attila, but he's using Flaming Shot on my horseman. I'm going to go ahead and get into melee with him, but this was a stupid choice. I shouldn't have done this, because I'm just going to throw away even more men. And his Heavy Bowmen are easily defeat my Scythian Horse Archers in melee, but again, he's thrown more units in piecemeal over here. He's, but he is actually coming out with his swords, so I've moved my Chariot into position. I should be moving this flank in already too. I'm a little late on my movement over here, because I'm going to get overwhelmed over here very quickly. I'm going to smash this Axe Warrior between two Noble Blood Cav, and I was thinking, oh, this will be an easy knockout, but this is not Attila. And even though this Axe Warrior gets smashed from both directions, it manages to hold up, which was a bit frustrating for me. And didn't take near as much damage as one would think, and he's moving in with skirmishers to kill my cavalry, so I gotta take care of him. This is where I think, okay, time to bring my chariots in. I've got my Pontic Peltist. I'm gonna try and fire at these noble swords. Use them, and I'm actually gonna let my opponent shoot a precursor volley here, because again, I need to get rid of his precursors. Try and get more infantry in here and pin him down. My Pontic swordsmen are actually holding up fairly well here in the center, even though they're up against overwhelming odds. That mercenary Axe Warrior ended up getting rid of a Noble Blood Cav, which was annoying. I wasn't paying attention entirely there, and it got taken away. And then these skirmishers have forced me into combat up against a spear warrior. My general comes in, and I managed to get a charge into the enemy noble sword. It causes surprisingly little damage, to be honest. I don't know if it's the forest slow me down or what, but then this mercenary Axe Warrior gets a jab toss there that kills 3 of my chariots on the very first volley. And so it's at this point when it's pretty much a GG for me, because my chariots, like I said, I crashed right through his general, but I got very few kills, and that javelin volley just basically sealed the deal. So I don't have enough chariots left to really get the job done, and he's got a lot more units around. I probably should just go ahead and come right back down here into these noble swords and just pull straight through this blob. But again, now he's got his guys turned around ready for more precursor volleys. Yeah, coming out here was stupid. I don't even know what I'm doing with the chariots. I think I was so disappointed at what happened with that first volley that I kind of lost track of all that was going on down here. And this is just going to get me javelined again, so another massive mistake here. Should have just charged that unit before it could javelin. And so my chariots get wiped out, and because of the fact that he has all these noble swords left, it's pretty much a game over for me. So this is a good example of how you have to understand what the key to victory is, and the chariots were the key to victory, and I should have been more patient and calculated with them. And I should have also understood that my opponent had way more troops on the battlefield than I did. Meaning, even though I'm winning these little engagements, like, so at first I won all the little engagements, went great for me, but I was throwing away more men than I had men to throw away, if that makes any sense. So, managed to get rid of his Dacian Heavy Bowman, which is good, but he's still got all these troops on the battlefield. I've only got 1 slinger left because the rest routed, just due to morale effects of my general dying. And then we still got this mercenary Axe Warrior over here that I gotta give a little payback to, so I'm gonna hit it with another Noble Blood Cav and get it off the field. This Axe Warrior's done way more damage than I would have liked, and my Eastern Slinger's firing, and then that was a mistake too. They're on fire at will or something probably. So I am going to try and do what I can, but at this point it's pretty much over for me. With 4 noble swords still on the field, and all I have is 3 Pontic swords, and he's got these spearmen. He's got plenty of spearmen that chase my cavalry and skirmishers around, and that's all he needs to do at this point. Again, my opponent has more troops to throw away than I do, and that's all he needs. Because with all these troops to throw away, he has enough guys left. I mean, I don't have the ammo or the killing power to get rid of 4 noble swords. I will give him what fight I can give him. You can see me just kind of teasing his spears away so that hopefully I can kill his general. That's what I was attempting to do over here, but there's woods everywhere, and it's just making it harder and harder to get the general kill I need. I go ahead and let my guys set up on the high ground and just decide, you know what, this fight's pretty much over. We're just going to have to take it. I go 2-on-1 with this noble sword. His general pops rally, raise banner, all this stuff. I get into shield walls with my Pontic swords, which is going to increase their melee defense substantially. It won't be as good as the noble swords, but you'd be surprised. The Pontic swordsmen actually do much better in this fight than I thought they would. So yeah, they end up doing okay. I have to interrupt this noble sword for as long as I can here. Just keep it pinned down, because otherwise it's going to turn my flank. I've got my Eastern Slingers firing into the back of my own men, so very genius here. He had some decent heavy bowmen come back. These guys have done pretty well for him in this battle as far as just making me waste ammo and men. But again, these Pontic swordsmen in a 2-on-1 though, they're still struggling to hold their own versus that noble sword. He's going to rear charge me with some spear warriors here, not a bad idea. Just try and get the morale victory. I do believe the enemy general, yeah, I killed the enemy general finally. Yeah, he's gone. I don't know if I killed him, but we got him off the field. I have to throw in my Eastern Slingers and Pontic Peltist at this point because I just have nothing else left. Yeah, and you'll see that my Pontic swords, my guys try and put up a fight, but this battle was over the moment that first javelin volley hit my chariots. I think I was too overconfident in the chariots, and then that made me misuse them. Even though I did have the tools to pull this victory off earlier on, just managed to botch it. So I wanted to show this battle as an example of how you kind of have to fully consider all the factors on the battlefield. I was winning the small engagements, and so that kind of boosted my confidence. And then when my confidence got up, I started to forget things like, hey, he's still got a lot of men left. I should keep trying hard to whittle him down and wear him away. Whereas I felt like, nah, let's just go get this over with. I'll just wheel my chariots in and take him out. I was in a bad position. He was charging downhill. I should have retreated and continued to pick at him with my cavalry and skirmishers. I could have caused a lot of damage through impact from charging. And then I should have just been focused more on his noble swords. The spearmen would have been a lot easier to deal with later on because none of them actually have precursors, which is one of the downsides of being the Getei. The Getei are not a bad faction. They're not a great faction, but they would be a pretty good faction if they had access to spears that had precursor javelins. But since they don't, it makes them a little bit weak compared to some of their some of their peers. But again, surprisingly, these Pontic swordsmen held up a long time, and some of them even got a fair number of kills. That one up there got 155 kills, and it held out a very long time versus this noble swordsman. It's got a single experience chevron on it at this point. 69 melee defense when in spear wall, and it's got the superior uphill position, but it's just losing to a superior sword unit slowly over time. Both these units in spear wall. 83 melee defense for the noble swords, so a whole lot higher. Yeah, he's getting into spear wall with all, or shield wall with all his units, so this one's pretty much over for me. I ended up making it slightly closer in the end. Killed some, probably a few more of his troops here in the end than I expected to, but still it was pretty much a runaway victory there for my opponent at the end because I botched those chariots and mismicroed a few things. But if we take a look at the statistics, I killed more men than he did, but this goes exactly to the point, which was he had more men to lose than I did. So he had 400 more men than me, roughly, but I only killed like 250 more men than he did, which means that he walks away with that one, with the victory. So this strategy here for my opponent means that he is not as, he's not going to have to be held as accountable for mistakes in the battle, whereas my army was much more prone to a mistake causing detrimental stuff. So like for instance, mine swung all around one unit where he had several opportunities to get kills. He could do so with the Dacian bowman. He had 4 noble swords that can do plenty of killing. So really that's why my army was a little more risky here. I had the tools to win. I did not do it in the end. And again, so just be aware of some of those factors on the battlefield and make sure that you keep an eye on it because sometimes it'll make the difference between victory and defeat. Good game to my opponent. Hope you all enjoyed it. Heir of Carthage signing off for now.